Welcome to Byte-Sized Coding Time with the Port Moody Public Library. In this series of videos, we'll be talking about coding concepts and features that you can use in your Scratch projects. So today, we will be talking about a very useful set of code called loops. Now, loops help us to specify to a program that we want to repeat a set of instructions. So to help us better understand loops, let's take a look at a real-life example of loops in action. And we can find those in auto racing. Now, in most race series like F1 or NASCAR, the races are done on a circuit or a continuous track with a defined start and end point. So in this case, we've got our start-finish line here. And when the car has completed one circuit around the track, it has completed a lap or a loop. Now, most races have a certain number of laps the driver must complete. So if the race is 10 laps, then the driver will complete the loop 10 times. So if we were to code this, then under the control blocks, we can grab the repeat loop. So whatever is placed inside the loop, which looks kind of like an alligator's mouth, or as I like to think of it, as a sandwich, whatever is placed inside this loop will be repeated this number of times. So by default, it repeats for 10 times, but we can go ahead and change this to a different number. So if our race is 25 laps, for example, we can say repeat the lap 25 times, or maybe it's a 50-lap race. Now, if in our racing game, our race goes on forever and ever and ever, there is a loop for that too. So instead of using the repeat loop, we can use the forever loop. So with the forever loop, whatever instructions are placed inside of the sandwich or inside of the loop will occur, repeat, forever and ever and ever and ever. And by using this loop, this way we don't have to specify the number of times that an action will occur. If we want it to occur infinitely, then this would be the loop for us. Now, if we want to make our race a bit more realistic, and we want it to be safe, and we want to tell the drivers that, yes, you can keep going around and around the track, but only until you come across an obstacle. If you come across an obstacle, then definitely you need to suspend the race. Whether that be a squirrel on the track, a cow, or maybe even a dinosaur, then we'll definitely want to stop our race. So there's a loop for that too. So again, under control, we can use the repeat until loop. So whatever instruction is placed inside of this loop will be repeated until a certain condition is met. And you'll see this hexagon here that indicates a space where we can specify what that condition is. So in this situation, we would repeat going around the track until a dinosaur comes into our line of view. Okay, so let's take a look at how we can use these loops in an actual Scratch project. So I've got a simple one that I've created here. And in this one, our robot is floating around space, bouncing off the edges of the screen. And our star is getting bigger as if we are getting closer to it as the animation progresses. So as our robot touches the star, then he changes color effect by 25. So we'll stop that right there and then take a look at the code for our star. So we do have a repeat loop in here, and we wanted the star to change size by 10 and then wait a second, and then do that again, and then do that again, 7 times. Now, if we were to place these blocks to change size and then wait a second, 7 times on our screen, it would look like this. So that's 14 blocks there to tell the computer to do what we've done here in 3 blocks. Now, the benefit of using loops in our coding is it makes your coding a lot cleaner. So if, for example, we were testing our program and we found that something wasn't working quite the way we wanted it to, then rather than using our human eyes to go through 14 lines of code here, it's a lot easier for us to go through just these 3 blocks of code to try and identify where a problem is. So we'll just snap that back and then get rid of these 14 blocks. So it's a lot tidier and easier for us and our human eyes to follow and read through our code. Now let's take a look at the code for our robot. So you'll notice that we have 2 loops used in his code. One is the forever loop, and the other is repeat until. So looking at the repeat until loop, we have the robot moving, then turning, and then bouncing if on edge, and then repeating that continuously. So the way this has been coded, the robot continues to move, turn, bounce, move, turn, bounce, move, turn, bounce, etc., until he touches the star. And then at that point, that's when he'll stop doing these movements within the loop. Now in our forever loop, we're telling the program that if the robot is touching the star, then he'll change color effect by 25. So that will happen forever and ever and ever and ever throughout the course of the program. Now, if we weren't to use the forever loop, if we just left this code as is and perhaps snapped it up here, then in that case, going through our code, when the green flag is clicked, the robot would go to these XY coordinates and point in the direction of 90 degrees so that he is appearing upright. And then the computer would check whether the star is being touched by the robot, and if so, to change color effect by 25. However, if we left the code like this, of course, with the robot having just gone to the starting point, he'd be nowhere near the star and would never be touching it in that situation. And so that's why we need to put it in a forever loop. So that way, our program, for the duration of the animation, will keep checking and checking and checking forever and ever to see whether the robot is touching the star and if it needs to make the robot change color. So we'll just snap that back here and run it again. So you can see the 3 loops in action all at the same time here. And that's an example of how we use loops in Scratch. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for today's bite-sized coding time as we looked at loops. Now, if you have any questions about today's topic, or if you'd like to share a link to your Scratch project, please do so in the comments. You can find all of our bite-sized coding time videos on the Port Moody Public Library's Facebook page, as well as on our YouTube channel. So thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you again next Monday for another video. Bye for now.